Hello, it's a very exciting time because it's finally March, which means it's finally spring. We are bidding goodbye to winter. We made it through the dark days. We did it. Today I just wanted to share a cheeky little review of the goals, I guess, that I set myself over the winter. So for me that was from the start of December to the end of February. So what I did at the time was I chose like 3 areas of my life that I wanted to focus on, and then I gave myself some like rules or guidelines, I guess, within those. The 3 things that I chose were being less on my phone, which I will put under the analogue living umbrella term. The second one I chose was to move my body. The third one was music. So I'll give a very brief rundown of the rules, I guess, that I set myself. For analogue living, I suppose, or more specifically being on my phone less, have my phone in black and white, do crosswords and sudoku instead of scrolling on my phone, only watching YouTube on the TV and sitting and paying full attention to it, only playing games on the console. So I wasn't allowed to play my Switch in handheld. I had to have it plugged into the dock and play it on the TV. When I'm doing some boring or repetitive household tasks like hanging up the washing, I can only listen to music through a speaker, so I can't listen through headphones, and I'm not allowed to listen to podcasts. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know that I definitely didn't stick to that already. And after I've read a book or watched a film or a TV show or whatever, I need to write something in my notebook in response to what I've consumed. For moving my body, I only had 2 things. So that was to move every day, going on a big walk, doing some yoga, going swimming, going to a gym class, going to the gym. And my second one was to leave the house once every day, not including going to work. Music, I have a couple more things. Don't know why I thought I was going to do the most, because ended up doing the least here. To play 1 instrument every day. So literally just pick it up and even if it was just to play a few notes, and it could be any of my instruments. Listen to more jazz standards, start to build my own repertoire, but it's actually just for fun, not for any career reason, and doing 1 lesson per week out of this music theory book that I found. I want to start on a positive note, which is the analogue living, or less phone time, more intentional phone time, having my phone on black and white. Yep, I did that. I have done that for the whole 3 months. My phone is still in black and white. I only ever really take it off if I need to, if someone has sent me a photo that I need to see the colour of, or if I need to use maps, it can be really hard to use without the colour, so I'll turn it on if I'm using that. But honestly, it's really once in a blue moon that I need to do that, and I will just turn it straight off. I don't crave having the colour back on my phone because I know that it just makes me want to use it more, and I don't want to use it more. Crosswords and Sudoku. I have done a lot of Sudoku. I haven't really done any crosswords. I'm nearly at the end of my little Sudoku book now. But honestly, I mostly was doing it because I kind of got into a bad or different habit of listening to a podcast before bed, sitting there and doing them while I was listening. Dealing with my podcast listening habits is definitely on the dome for what I'm going to focus on in the spring. Only watching YouTube on the TV and only playing games on a console. I was actually doing really, really well with that, but I did have a really bad week mid-Feb after I posted my video, we don't need to buy more things to go analog. I was getting a lot of comments, which was obviously really, really nice. There was overwhelmingly a positive response to it. I did find it a little bit overwhelming, and it started to make me quite anxious because I'm not really used to getting any kind of response to things that I post here, or even if they do get a few views, there was nowhere near that amount of comments. I was feeling unwell that week, and I was just struggling in my mind, so I kind of ended up obsessively checking that video. So I was checking it on my phone. I was staying in bed and watching YouTube in bed. I ended up just playing podcasts constantly to fill any kind of second of silence, because I was like quite distressed about being left alone with my thoughts, and the fact that I felt like some people were misinterpreting what I was saying in that video was like really starting to stress me out, and I was kind of like feeling guilty about the fact that I posted it, even though I do like stand by everything I said and most people were saying very nice things to me. But that whole experience, those like, it went on for like 3 days or something. I had like 3.5 hours on my phone like per day. I just felt this like compulsion to check, which I hadn't felt at all the whole like 2.5 months until that point. So that was my first, I guess, like relapse into my old technology habits, or I would even a worse habit than I used to have. Like I would never really that obsessively check a YouTube video like that. It was a necessary like teaching moment for me, I guess, because it showed me how easy it is to go back into those habits, to make excuses for myself like, oh, I'm feeling unwell, or it's actually good that I'm checking this video and responding to this video because it means it's going to get pushed out even more. And it's like, you don't need to spend like 3 hours doing that, and you don't need to focus on like the one bad thing out of like 100 nice things. But it meant I was able to notice how little it made me feel better when I was like in a difficult moment. I could feel that I was worse off for doing it every single time. So I have deleted YouTube and YouTube Studio off my phone. It was still on my phone because it wasn't a problem for me before this. So now I can't check it on my phone, good or bad. I can only check it on my laptop, and I have been checking it like once a day, and then I would just leave it. I do feel so much better for that. I do think that going forward I would like to include being able to watch a YouTube video on my laptop or being able to play my Switch handheld, but not doing those things in bed. I did actually really enjoy when I like made myself a nice lunch and I sat down and I watched a YouTube video on my laptop, because it wasn't practical to watch it on the TV at the time. And like, it was nice to take my Switch handheld downstairs and like sit on the sofa and play it. For me, as long as it's a situation where I'm like intentionally engaging with the thing rather than passively engaging with the thing, I'm okay with it. I don't want to be too lenient, because then I know I would find a way to make excuses for myself, as I discovered that I did. But I would like a little bit more leniency with that rule, to be honest, because I'm not trying to punish myself. I do want to enjoy being able to use like this technology, or like being able to treat myself to watching a little YouTube video, because I do actually really like that. I guess it's just like not doing that compulsively and like not engaging with too much YouTube video content. Same with my Switch, like even if I am playing it on handheld, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm not like also listening to something else. Not listening to stuff through headphones, but only listening to music through speakers while I'm doing something. I actually kind of completely forgot that I even like made that guideline, to be honest. I definitely didn't do that. That has been one of my biggest downfalls in terms of like getting off my phone. Podcasts, I do love them. There are some that I listen to like for informative reasons. There are some like pop culture reasons. There are some like entertainment ones. However, I have been listening like a crazy person, basically just using it as a distraction technique so that I don't have a second to listen to my thoughts. That is something that I really want to tackle in the spring, as I already said. But yeah, there is another like nuance, I guess, to this for me as well, in that it would be great if I could like listen to music out of a speaker all the time. However, for those not in the know, I am #disabled. I am deaf. I use hearing aids in both ears. If I don't wear them, I basically cannot hear people speaking to me at all. And one thing about hearing aids, they're definitely 1,000 times better, like the technology, than it has been ever before, but they don't translate music to your brain like perfectly. It still sounds a little bit, not distorted, but like tinny. It does sound like you're listening to music through something else rather than just experiencing the music. I always feel like a little bit once removed from it, especially if it's coming out of a speaker then into my hearing aids. So I guess that is one like barrier to me doing that, because I know it's not always a massively like pleasant experience, and I know that I would be able to hear the music so much better if I do use headphones. So I do want to be forgiving of myself in that way. Like I do actually have a disability that prevents me from using headphones less. But I guess I am just conscious that sometimes when I wear headphones too much, I start to feel like really unwell. And I feel like I'm separating myself from the real world, I guess, which sometimes has its benefits and sometimes makes me feel a bit uneasy. I would like to extend some grace to myself. Also, I do have tinnitus, so I have a constant ringing in my ears, which is not always pleasant. So if there's not any other sound going on, I can really hear that noise sometimes. If there is something playing, like a podcast or music or something, often I will be distracted from that sound, or like what I'm listening to is louder than the ringing. Very sorry if you also have tinnitus, because I have just brought attention to that noise for you again, and I know that you can hear it right now. So can I as I'm speaking. I'm now listening to the ringing in my ears. Sorry about it. But yeah, I guess I just want to be intentional about it, and I don't want to make myself feel ungrounded, because I do struggle a lot with dissociating. Peace and love. So yeah, I don't think it really helps me in that regard. Sometimes it does make me feel a bit more disconnected from my experience of the world than I already do. Lots going on, like, in that conversation for me, and I've not quite arrived anywhere, but I will do a bit more like thinking about it for spring, because I don't like the habits that I currently have, and I think there would be a way to manage this without punishing myself. I just kind of need to find what that is. And the last analog thing was writing something in response to whatever I've just read or watched. And yeah, I am actually really surprised that I wrote that down as a goal at the end of November, because I feel like I barely actioned it at all, because most of my attention was focused on actually building the new habit of not being on my phone, as opposed to creating things after I've consumed things, which is, for me, it's a different step in the equation. So I feel like in writing that, I was almost like jumping the gun on myself. But now, in the last kind of week or two of February, when I'm well into this habit of not being on my phone, I'm reading a lot more again. When I am watching stuff, I feel like I have a lot more thoughts about it, and more thoughts are I want to put down on a page. I have actually been doing that more in the last couple of weeks, and I've been thinking a lot actually about making things in general, and how when I was a kid, my default response to the world was to create things, drawings and writings, or singing and music. I would make things as a reaction to the media that I had engaged with. I think I'm the most happy when I do that. I think I feel the most fulfilled when I really allow myself to give into that childhood urge of oh my god, I've watched an anime, let me draw those characters, or let me learn how to sing the opening song of this show, or oh, I'm reading this book, it's making me think about this, or I'm watching this YouTube video and it's making me have this thought, let me write that down. I'd really love to get back to that feeling. I was trying to ask myself, at the end of the day, what makes me feel like I've had a productive day? And for me, it's just when I've made something. Anything. Making this video right now, writing in my notebook, playing a little bit on the guitar, baking something, making myself a nice lunch. It can be something really small. I get that satisfied feeling, I guess, when I've created in response to the world. I don't know how to phrase that in a way that doesn't sound incredibly pretentious. Honestly, I'm so grateful that I started to go on this analog journey. It just so happens to coincide with the fact that I'm also doing a lot of therapy right now. I feel like it's kind of making me go on this self-discovery journey, which is amazing, and I do feel like it's really changing my life and is making me a happier person and better able to deal with things, and actually learning how to take care of myself without just distracting myself. What actually makes me feel better? What am I actually thinking or feeling when I'm left without all these unintentional distractions? It can be scary sometimes, but it's also quite fun to try and find the answer to those questions. There's so many thoughts I'm having, and so many things I'm doing or even just wanting to do that I'm like, I wouldn't have even begun to like start thinking about this thing again if I was like scrolling on Instagram. The bored thoughts that I have in like the silence, what impulse do I have to do something right now when there's nothing else, just distracting me? There's nothing like constantly coming in, so it's like, oh, okay, what do I actually want to do in this moment? It's nice to even start to ask yourself those questions. Like, not that I necessarily have got all the answers to those questions yet, but like I've started to ask myself that more, and I've started to have more thoughts about that, and things from my childhood are like coming back up. Not just like the horrible things that I'm working through in therapy, but like the beautiful things that I used to really love as a kid. Yeah, I'm just like really grateful that I decided to participate in what some people are, you know, describing as essentially just being an online trend. And like, yeah, it is an online trend, but if you actually want to stick to it, it can become a way of life for you. And yeah, and it's also like in alignment with my political beliefs, which obviously I talked a bit about in that other video, so I'm not gonna like go off talking about it now. But I feel really positively about all of the progress like I've made in this area, even if I didn't follow every single like rule or goal to a T. You know, I was giving myself these guidelines before I had any idea of all of the stuff that was about to happen over the next few months and all of the ways that it was going to affect me. So it's nice that now I have more information going forward. I can kind of refine. Okay, moving on to moving my body. I have left the house every day for a reason other than going to work. I did it. Sometimes that has been going on a lovely long walk, and other times that has literally just been walking up and down the road in my pajamas with a coat over the top in the moments where like I haven't had the time or the willpower to do any more than that. But I have not moved my body every day by the definitions that I laid out when I first made this. I have, if you count walking up and down the road as me moving my body, which in all honesty I'm kind of tempted to do because it is movement that I wouldn't have done otherwise. But in December I actually did move, or exercise is I guess is what I'm trying to say, but I don't want to use the word exercise because it intimidates me. But in December I actually did exercise every single day for pretty much the entire month. I did a lot of yoga mostly, but around like the late festive period and like going into the new year, I stopped mostly from pure like lack of motivation and also like time. I was just like doing too much, to be honest. But I have managed something far better in my opinion than sticking to a challenge like exercising every day, which is developing an actual movement routine that is sustainable for me and, more importantly, is actually fun. So my gym basically has like a pretty much almost half price discount basically for people that are disabled. I am a disabled king, as I just mentioned. I managed to find some classes at the gym where the time and the day actually works for me. I really like the teacher and the vibes are just immaculate. I used to go to the yoga classes, which I did really love. I do love yoga, but the time was just not working out. Like, it was right in the middle of the day on my days off, and it's kind of like, well, now I can't do anything today other than go to this yoga class because it's smack bang at like 1 p.m. But I am really, really happy with what I've ended up settling on for now. It's really working for me for now. I'm just having fun. I'm not even thinking about it as exercising or even like moving my body. This is so embarrassing, but like one of it is just basically a dance class for mostly people that are over 60, but I have a fantastic time. It's very simple moves and I just make it a bit bouncier for myself so that I feel like I'm doing a bit more cardio. Yeah, it's fantastic. I actually just have a really good time and I'm not focused on my weight or the way that I look. Like, I'm just really enjoying going there at the moment, which for me is a crazy like massive step forward. I'm genuinely not bothered that there's no other people my age in this class, because honestly I would be embarrassed moving about like that in front of other people my age. I'm happy that it's all like older women who don't give a fuck. They're just chilling doing their own thing, and then therefore I'm chilling doing my own thing. And some of those women are way fitter than me. Like, let me just say, some of those women are gym goers. The final thing, which honestly is barely worth mentioning because I didn't do a single thing I wrote down, but it is music. I was playing my guitar every day for about a week. First week of December. The first day I picked it up, I actually was expecting to just play a few chords and then put it back down again. I literally just wrote a whole song out of nowhere, day one, and I hadn't written anything for like months at this point. I actually posted a video of me like playing that song. So like I do think there is merit to getting myself to play more, because clearly there are things inside of me that are wanting to come out that are not coming out because I'm not picking up my instruments. But I can't like put my finger on how to make it feel like I'm not putting pressure on myself or like making myself practice because I feel like I'm an awful musician, as opposed to making myself do it because I enjoy it and it's clearly a way for me to like express myself creatively. I trained as an active musician and I do work within music as well, so for me I have reached the point of like finding it very difficult to separate it from the idea of work and training and like upskilling. Honestly, I want to be a kid again before I knew about the word productive. Like I'm actually sick of productivity. Like why does everything need to be productive? I was actually so much more productive creatively before I knew what being productive even was. I have been listening to a lot of music. Like I've been listening to Mariah and watching all of her live performances, and I've been listening to some jazz albums. Some of my faves so far, obviously Miles Davis' Kind of Blue, Time Out, which is the Dave Brubeck trio, I want to say. Honestly, in general, over the winter, I have been a lot less strict with myself and like following all of these things that I've laid out, as evidenced by the fact that I didn't do a single one of the music ones. In autumn, I was a lot more militant about following every single thing, and I think I was a bit more lax this time for probably a number of reasons. Going forward, I do kind of want to be a bit more chill about it. Or not chill, but I just want to set myself less to do and really focus on the things that I have set myself, without feeling like then I have no free time at the end of it, because it's all spent like trying to achieve some arbitrary goal, which obviously sometimes is necessary but sometimes feels like oppressive. I find it really, really hard to find a balance between making sure I get up and I do the things that I enjoy, because I enjoy life more when I do those things, and not doing it out of the motivation of like punishing myself or trying to prove myself. That is a trap that I very easily fall into. So I do think maybe like stripping everything back as much as possible like might help me with that and like force me to sit with the fact that yeah, I'm doing nothing right now and that's okay. What do I want to do right now? I can just do a little bit of that, and it doesn't mean I need to then plan how that's going to fit into my routine for the next 6 months. Like maybe I can just do that thing for an hour and then not touch it again, and like that's fine. I've started creating a bit more space in my life, and I want to like learn to be comfortable with that space and like learn what that space like leaves me with before I start trying to stuff it to the brim again, like full of stuff. So yeah, I do think like continuing to focus on slowing down my media consumption, slowing down my phone usage, doing all of those things like more intentionally will lead to hopefully more boredom anyway, which hopefully will lead to me doing more creative things like without me even trying. I already started like doodling in my notebook the other day. I haven't really drawn for years, so my doodles are extremely ugly now. Even just the fact that I did them, I'm like, well done me. I gave my brain the space to decide to do that. I'm gonna go away and do some thinking about what my spring goals are gonna be, and I might make a video talking about them, who knows. I might do like I did here and wait until the end of the season and just talk about them retrospectively. I'm not decided yet, but either way, take care, have a good day, goodbye.